From Senegal to Sugar Hill, trace the bloodline. 100 years of brilliance through the color line. They thought the shackles broke but kept the mental chain. Langston penned the future while they legislated pain. Harlem's ballrooms birthed the cosmos in mahogany, while lynching trees still decorated southern botany. Josephine, Waker's pearls, and Garvey's Navy ships. Du Bois debating destiny with scholarship on his lips. The Renaissance was a renaissance, it was resistance, fam. Every trumpet blast from Armstrong was a battering ram. They gave us minstrel shows, we gave them Sora Neal. Turned depression into art, made the fabricated real. Cotton Club excluded us from tables every set. To form the Venus nightly, never free from the deck. But Bessie Smith could shatter glass, shatter cash, shatter lies. Every note she sang contained a revolution in the sky. Build temples from the rubble, make cathedrals from the struggle. Turn the margins to the center, now they study what we scribble. We build temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they try to keep us from. Fast forward through the decades, watch the pattern reassemble. Malcolm's speeches, Martin's marches, every voice begins to tremble to the earth until the structure shows its fractures. FBI was tracking every coon with every pastor, every actor. 40 acres never came but 40 minutes on a stage. To reconvene your consciousness and channelize the rage. From bebop to hip-hop, the fool lines mathematical. Each generation weaponized the beautiful, the radical. They gave us Reagan, now there's crack and mass incarceration. We gave them Public Enemy and blueprints for liberation. The Harlem Renaissance never ended, just evolved its form. Every freestyle cipher is a brainstorm, is a storm. Where the children of the talented, the tent that was prophesied, inherit the fire that the water couldn't wash aside. They tried to write us out the narrative. We offered all on text, 100 years of proof, and that we're destined where was next. Temples from the rubble, make cathedrals from the struggle. Turn the largest to the center, now they study what we scribble. We built temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from.
All right, man, here it is. This is, and you are Under the Groove. Welcome to Under the Groove Podcast, man. Let's get it in. Let's touch bases with the people. I have this energy, man, and saying tonight is the night. I got something in store for everybody, and it's going to speak to who we are or who we should know we are. You know what I mean? That being said, come on in here, y'all. Let's get it in. Let's get it in. Hit that like, man. Hit that share button, man. And subscribe to those of you who have not subscribed as of yet. And it's not pressure. We ain't pushing no lines here, man. We just trying to get brothers and sisters to come together, man. And this is a start, man. Come on and join us here. You know what I mean? Let's get this thing up and running like we should. Again, like, share, and subscribe to this. This is Under the Groove Podcast, and we are touching bases with the people. That being said, let's get up in this get down, man, like we do. Monday through Friday, right? 6:15 till, the wife give me that text, say, hey, time to shut it down. You know what I mean? That's how I go. That's how I go. Oh, man, look at that. LaRae Sense, man. Salute right back to you, sister. Peace and prosperity to you and yours. Good to see you back. I don't know if you know, I haven't seen you in a minute when you first suggested that we changed the sister podcast or the new podcast we got up and running to what you suggested, the Art of Political Discourse. That thing is up and running. We're trying to get that up to 5,000 subscribers. So again, you guys go in there, the Art of Political Discourse, and let's thank our queen, our sister, LaRae Sense, who suggested that we do that. And I think it was a solid suggestion. It set us apart from others. You know what I mean? So again, thank you for that, queen. We appreciate you. And hopefully you subscribe to that. That was your idea, your suggestion. It's up and running. Are you up in there? All right. Are you up in there? And furthermore, if there's anything that needs to be done in regards to that get out, please let me know. All right. Don't hold back. That's the beauty of this thing. We can communicate. I'm not with the feelings thing. You know what I mean? My feathers don't get ruffled. I can take criticism. No problem. All right. But good to see you back up in here with us, sister. Yeah, good to see you back up in here with us. Let's get up in here, man. That thing started kind of quick just now. Dang. All right, Antonio, I see you, bro. Peace and prosperity, you and the family, bro. Here you are. I'm going to go out and let him say your day has been excellent. Here you are, man, 10 toes down. You are a part of this grand rising today. And that goes for everybody else. Salute right back to you, LaRae Sense. Appreciate you, sister. You don't even know. She said salute, Bub, and salute to the chat. There you go. B60, what it do, loved one? Say greetings and salutations to you, bub, and the RGC. B1. B1 is Black First. I'm about to drop some stuff tonight, man, and it's going to speak to that exactly. I appreciate you for throwing that in there, to helping me, allowing me to create that segue, man. You know, B1, you know, this shit is important. You know, it holds more weight than I think a lot of us actually realize. Black First means a great deal, you know what I mean? And for whatever reason, we know the reason why we've been extracted from that, you know, why we don't look at each other as we being the ones first that we deal with, you know what I mean? We love, you know, we cherish, we respect, we unify with, we identify with. That ain't nothing, you know, that's not by mistake, you know what I mean? So I appreciate you, B60, for dropping that B1 first, man. Black First. That's to get down, you guys, you know, that's to get down. I put something in the description for touching bases with the people. It's new. I just did it today. I thought about it long and hard, and it's in there. You know, when you guys get a chance, go check that description out in terms of what Under the Groove podcast and touching bases with the people is all about. Black First, man. Black First. That's it. That's all, you know. That's it. That's all. So again, I appreciate you. Peace and prosperity to you and yours, B60. Yeah. Great show yesterday. I don't, you know, hey man, I'm gonna tell you to you like this, bro. The feedback I get from the base, you know what I mean? The base lets me know whether I was on point that night or not, whether or not we were jibing, you know, we were connecting or not. That shit means a lot to me. I can't say it enough to you, brothers and sisters, you kings and queens. You guys' feedback, you guys being present in this get out is the fuel. It inspires me. It don't motivate me. It inspires me to do better every time we have an opportunity to do that. You know what I mean? To improve. So, hey, man, that is. I appreciate you saying that. Real spit, bro. Real spit. All right. Yeah. I see you, Lorray. All right, now. You saw it? Okay, good. Been prepping for the trade day. Hey, get ready. Get ready. I may make a showing. Hey, you know, if it's done right. If it's done right. Again, I don't want nobody to misinterpret or misunderstand where I'm coming from about my community, the community that I come from. I love it. I love the community, man. Not only that, man, I love, you know, believe it or not, you know, trust what I'm saying or not, you know, that's on you. I have a love and respect for all communities, you know. Now, of course, yeah, I'm going to put mine, you know, ahead of everyone else's because that's where I hail from, you know. I love my community. Don't like what's going on, you know, and this is the reason why I know this is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to, I strive to, I know I need to help bring change to our community, you know, and hopefully, not hopefully, may what I'm doing, you know, spill over to other brothers in other communities, and they see this get down, they see the effect of this get down, and they, you know what I'm saying, take it upon themselves and say, okay, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Let's do it. You know, that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. All right. So I appreciate you, sister. Like I said, all right. Appreciate you. What's good with it, James? I see you here, brother. Peace and prosperity. Yep. You already know what to do. Ray, since I appreciate that, I'm subscribed. Sister, you don't even know the half of it. I talked to the wife about how you dropped that. And it was solid. You know, because I tell you this, I said it when you mentioned it the first time. I had said to my wife, I sound like this because there are too many other get downs with that title, that name, you know, that handle. I said, nah, that, you know, that I don't think that serves us. And boom, lo and behold, you hit, I think it was that night saying, hey, I suggest that you should, you know, switch that up, change that title. And I'm telling you, it was right up my alley. So I can't speak enough about that. I've been waiting for you to come in so I could say, I appreciate you, you know, peace and prosperity, you and yours, you know, I appreciate you more than you know. All right. That's what I've been wanting to say to you. So you're here. I said that. I feel good about it, you know, and I would like for you to also feel good about your participation in this get out. And that go for everybody, man. Our participation means a lot. And not just this platform, this channel, this podcast, but in anything we do, and we're striving to improve, to excel. We should do this with each other regardless. I think that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's for the development. It's for the improvement, the nurturing. You know what I mean? It's for the growth of each and every one of us, man. So again, sister, queen, thank you. All right. I'm gonna move on. You know, when I tend to hold, you know, boom, keep going. My wife tells me after the fact, hey man, move along, you know. So yeah, there that is, man. Queen Nzinga says that good evening, kings and queens. Happy Friday Eve. B1 Black First. I'm telling you guys tonight, I got something for you kings and you queens, you gods and goddesses, black folk. We need to we were talking about this last week, how a lot of us, we tend to latch on to labels. And for whatever reason, most of the labels we latch on to have no real significance. You know, they don't really mean anything for the most part, because we didn't create these labels. We didn't decide what our how we would identify who the hell we are. You know, it's always been someone said, hey, this is you. These are your people. You know what I mean? And we tend to run with that. You know, very few of us are willing to delve deep into acquiring the knowledge in terms of what our identity is, who we are, and where we come from. We hear all kind of stuff. We do, you know, and I think that's part of the plan too. Just to throw shit out there, man, and see how many of us latch on to it and take it to heights that they who threw it out there didn't think we reach. You know what I mean? That's just, you know, that's what it is. You know what I mean? We have all these different identities, these different labels. And we were saying last week that because of it, as a result of it, we're still not only confused, but we're still divided. We're still separate based upon these labels. You know, we have Black American, African American, Black, Negro, colored, ninja, FBA, you know, all this, I think, adds to this confusion in terms of our identity, you know, and where we actually hail from. I think that's a problem, you know. That's just my opinion, you know. That's my opinion, you know. But the fact of the matter remains is that, you know, no matter how we want to look at it, how we want to label ourselves in terms of where we are and where we come from, what we did, you know, what we didn't do, whatever, what we built, what we didn't build, the fact remains we did come from a central one location, not many, you know, one location. We all derived from it. And I think this is the problem. We don't acknowledge that, you know. We've been told that, oh man, forget them over there. Y'all here. This is what y'all did here. Y'all you know. And in that, they help, or they put in our heads ideas to sever our ties in terms of where we actually hail from. That's a problem. That's a problem in terms of identity, in terms of lineage. You know what I mean? That's a problem, man. We have to deal with that, you know? And we have to deal with it first and foremost before we call ourselves dealing with anything else that is, you know, or that we are confronted with here in these United States. We have to know exactly where we hail from. We have to know our identity. We have to know our lineage, you know? And for all of those, or for all of us who say, hey, we're indigenous, or we're aboriginal, we're native, hey man, the reality is, before all that, we came from one spot, and we don't pay homage to the ancestors in that respect. That's where we go wrong, you know. And again, that's just me talking. You do not have to agree. Y'all understand how this podcast go. We can agree to disagree respectfully. You know, we keep it we keep the perspective in place, man. We don't, go out on we don't trip on one another. Let's put it like that. But yeah, that is, man. I got some again for you guys, and I'm hoping you appreciate it. I ran across this brother, man, Afro Think Tank. I don't know if any of you heard of this brother. I have to admit, today was the first time I got wind of this brother, and again, I have all kind of people getting at me. They send me things, and this was sent to me. This brother's podcast was sent to me. The podcast is called Afro Think Tank, and you guys going to give it a shot if you see fit. See what you think about it. All right, see what you think about it. Let me move on though. Yep. James say, "Hey, Bub, I trip off one thing. Regardless of what they say, I hate living with regrets, big homie." Yeah, and we all have them, though. I can write you a book in terms of regrets, and I'm sure you can do the same thing. I'm sure that a lot of us in this get down, the RGC, and those who just happen to, stumble upon us and know about us, come in and say, "Hey, yeah, man, I got a plethora of regrets." That's part of our reality. That's part of our struggle. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, we have them, but we do not allow those regrets to stagnate us, man, or knock us, off point. You know what I mean? We take the good with the bad. We learn, in terms of our regrets, our failures, and stuff. These should be lessons. That's it. They should be lessons. They should be no more than that. Just think about that. All right. So there you are, bro. You hear it all, and you still in this struggle, this fight that the majority of us are in, straight up, man. What up with it, Donald Davis? You say, "What up, bro? Hey, likewise, bro. What up, bro? Peace and prosperity to you and yours. Good to see you here with us again, my loved one. Good to see you." James said, "We got to push forward always on the second to the minute and the hour, day, weekly, monthly, yearly." Yeah, this is one of them things, man, that is ongoing. We have to look at it like this also. I think, again, my opinion, a work in progress. That's what it is. And again, we have to understand that this work that we want to put towards and put forward our people's establishment, our people's franchisement, our excellence, our empowerment is not necessarily for us. It's for those who coming up behind us, man. So this work is continual. It's a process that let's say that most of us, when we understand this and we're a part of this will be something we'll be doing to the day we go to rest. Again, it's not for us, man. We have to know we're obligated, man, to set up those coming up behind us in a position that's better than what we've been through, what we've had. That's just, I think that's the reality. A lot of us have to attach to our thinking, our essence, our spirit. You know what I mean? We just got to do that. Otherwise, man, look, man, our people, man, gonna be, it ain't gonna be good. So we have to do those things that aid, that assist, support those coming up behind us to have a better existence. Straight up, man. Straight up. All right. Appreciate that, James. They all fear it, man. They all fear it. And what's cool about the fact that you just saying that they all fear the black. It's to the point now where some of us fear it as well. And we shouldn't. That should be the least thing we fear about ourselves, our blackness. What we're able to do. Real spit, man. Real spit, man. All right, James. You said, man, the almighty power of the black fist. I don't believe in anyone better. I don't believe in anyone better than anyone else. F the white supremacy, but I know things. Black superiority is real. Facts are facts. It's straight like that. One, no doubt. But how do we push that rather than, because we we know what it is, man. We could talk so much about it and up on it that, I mean, man, multiple books, volumes could be written about this shit from, by any of us. But what are we gonna do? How do we bring this into play to where it actually does something for the people in all our communities? This is the thing I think we should start focusing on. How do we enact these thoughts, these words we put out in the atmosphere? How do we make them work for us? What do we need to do, bro? That's the thing. Jeffrey Plunkett, man, he says, blessings, my brother. Keep speaking truth to power. Amen. Peace and prosperity to you, Jeffrey, man. Again, man, my emotions are such to where, a lot of time when brothers and sisters, our kings and queens come in here and they say things like you just said, it puts me on this wavelength, man. And I don't know, I'd be like, more than anything else, I'm still a humble brother. I know how that works for us, rather than being, hey, yeah, I know what it is. Da, da, da. Hey, man, the fact that you and others like you have come in and say, hey, man, we hear you or we see you. That's some deep shit, But by the same token, man, I think it should be conveyed to the people, you, yourself, and others. Hey, man, I see you. We see you. What more is there we can do? How can we further this thing along? You being here is part of that get out, and others, what I'm saying? That shit is appreciated more than y'all know. Again, I try not to speak to this, man, as much as possible, but I get nothing from this. I mean, and let me explain that. We have brothers and sisters involved in this thing called social media, and they're only involved in it for one thing, man, and I can say, from my core, that's not the reason that I'm involved in this. Should that come to be a part of this get out? Hey, fine, cool. I'll know what to do with it. You know what I mean? But this is done because my soul said it demands that this is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I'm supposed to do. And again, if I don't reach but one or two, hey, man, I'm putting in the work, So when brothers like yourself come and say, hey, man, look, blessings, man, my brother, blessings, you're telling me off the rip, man, you support this get down, that you have a conscience. You are in the same boat we're in. You see what we see, and there's a desire in you, to do better, to see us do better, man. So, again, this is us, man. This is all us. It ain't got nothing to do with me as an individual who is a content creator. I don't wear that badge. I don't wear that armband like that, man. I'm not a whole lot of things that go on here. I would not partake in, because I understand what it would do or what it does to our community. I'm sticking or staying with this course because I think that in a lot of respects, brothers and sisters will be reached. And whether or not they stay here or move on, that is actually, the get out for them to get a hold of something and carry it away. Take it somewhere else, man. Spread it. So I do this for us, I do this for us, man. Appreciate you being here, bro. Again, peace and prosperity, homie. Listen said, Lorraine said, I made turkey burgers again. They've been a hit the last 2 years. Yeah, I thought about it, and again, I'm a veggie, so I don't eat any meat. But I've been reading, little stuff, especially when it comes to my health, what's good for my blood type and all that. Turkey's right up there. You know what I mean? I'm like, nah, still, I ain't ate meat in so long. I don't think, it's necessary, but who knows? I know, I know some people who love turkey. Trust me, they love turkey. No names. I'm not gonna say no names, but anyway. Yeah, turkey is, I think, probably the last piece of poetry. Well, hold on, let me take that back. Ain't no telling what they shooting in that down as well. You know what I mean? You know, I've seen some Thanksgiving turkeys around here that were just huge. And I'm thinking, hey man, that got to be something other than, you know, a natural process of this fowl, this piece of meat. Been in, you know, that ain't the way they supposed to look. Put it like that. But yeah, enjoy that, man. Enjoy that, sister. Make sure that you know what I'm saying, you get the best out of it and it serves you and your system, your health. All right. I want to put that out there. James said, man, we know how the hood will take us under, but sugar and stress been taking us out just as bad, if not worse, than the pain and violence we inflict upon each other. I always tell people, watch your health. You can't say that enough, bro. Cannot say that enough. Two of the leading causes of death is sugar and stress, especially for black folk. No doubt. No doubt. Lorraine Sin said, we was Viking. I felt that, bud. All right. Cash money up in this get down again, y'all. That's a good look. Greetings, RGC and Big Bro. Real jewels, knowledge of self is power. Let's get it. Let's focus on the focus, y'all. I have a saying, you know, for the most part, a lot of us, we mean well. We want to do what's correct. We want to find our way through the forest, but for a lot of us, the problem is we can't see the forest for the trees. You know, there are a lot of distractions. There's a lot in the forest that could alter, you know what I'm saying, our mindset, you know, distract us from the path we're on that's going to lead us to righteousness, you know, to holiness, divinity, all those things that actually we were designed to be a part of, you know. Not seeing the forest for the trees is one of them tactics those people, or for a lot of you guys who understand the terminology, the devil uses to keep us benighted, ignorant, you know, just off kilter, off balance, you know. Hey man, knowledge of self is power, you know, and a lot of times we lose sight of that because again, there's a whole lot going on. There's a whole lot going on in our lives to where we're not able to focus on self. One of the things we stress here is that we should know self, know thyself first before we proclaim or, you know, try to say that we know everything and everybody around us. That's not possible if we don't know who the hell we are, you know, if we don't know what our true identity is, if we don't know what unity is, love and respect, if we don't know our lineage, that's, you know, that's going to be a problem. It will present a problem, you know, but knowing thyself helps to do away with that issue. You know, we have to know. Again, you know, you can't profess to love me if you can't love yourself. I cannot say, man, I love you, but I despise me. It don't work like that, you know. Same thing goes for, hey man, I'm gonna take care of you. I will support. I got you. When I don't even do that for self, that's not how that works. You know, truly, that's not how that works. So knowledge is self power or power of self. You know. So yeah, we need to get that. We need to get that in order to, you know, make this thing do what it's supposed to do. And believe you me, for all of you guys, man, and not just on this channel or this podcast that understands that we have work to do. That just, you know, those are facts. That's the fact. We have work to do. All right. Yeah. Lisa Moore, what you do, Queen? How you do, Queen? What did you do today? Huh? How'd you make it right, girl? Lisa Moore said, man, hey, big bro, blessings to you and the family. Peace and love to the kings and queens. In the chat, be one, black first. And so again, excuse me, I got something I want to, lay on y'all, man. And it's just that. It's that. In fact, I got a couple of pieces I want to drop. One is 20 minutes. So if we, we can focus and our attention span could go 20 minutes plus another 3 minutes just on this, man. I'm telling you, we can get something from this. It's a good look. But yes, sister, black first means a lot. And again, it has to be more than a mantra that we say on this platform, on this podcast. Black first actually means something, or it should, to each and every one of us who espouse it, who say it, who put it in the atmosphere, So again, this is a movement. We got to push that, black first, you know what I mean? So a lot of people say good morning, and a lot of us are beginning to say grand rising. There's a difference, a lot of people be like, what's up? A lot of people are like B1, hey, B1, you know what I mean? And that's the get down, I think, that needs to be instilled in how we conduct ourselves, especially out in public, out in society, but more so when we run into one another. That grand rising and that B1 should be, some of the first phrases and words out of our mouths. It denotes, identity. It denotes love, respect. It denotes, the blackness and the power thereof. That's what I think. So, let's get it, man. Let's get it. All right. So, I got something I want to drop, and again, this was sent to me earlier today. This brother has a podcast that goes by the name of Afro Think Tank. And I went and I checked out the majority of his stuff, and I swear the vibe was right. The energy was right. The frequency was right. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I hear you. All right, man. Yeah, I can support you. That's I walked away with that mindset and that feeling, it was in my core. Okay, this some solid shit. I need to, see, what's going on. And then once I, checked him out and everything, the fact of the matter was, okay, this is a brother who is like many other brothers like us. We're all alike. We all have the mindset we need to have in terms of coming together, getting this thing together so that when, we reach the future or whatever that may come, we're together. So I appreciate him, man. All right. Lisa Morris says again, hey, big bro, blessings to you and the family. Peace, love to kings and queens in the chat. B1 is black first. Appreciate that. Queen and Zinga say the vibe is always right every night. The vibe is always right every night. Either the RGC, it don't get no better. I love this chat. Appreciate that. It's always right with the RGC. I get what you mean, sister. Appreciate you. All right. This thing going up. All right. So let's drop that in. I was waiting for some heads, but again, please like and share this. Get down, y'all. Let's spread this out, man. Let's get it out there. You know what I mean? And I mentioned Afro Think Tank for a reason. I mentioned it so that you also go and check that out. You don't have to say, hey man, Under the Groove podcast, see me here. None. We don't worry about that. We don't do that. You know what I mean? But I think this brother deserves this brother and others like him, as well as sisters, deserve to knock a hole in the algorithm. In the algorithm, we have to find a way to bust through the doors, kick the doors down, so that messages like these, man, can reach the people, over what we know is getting to the people. That's the problem also. But that said, let's get to this. Get down. All right. Again, this is a Afro Think Tank. I think, man, this is some powerful stuff. Here you go.
When a continental African asks an African American where they come from, what's happening is the root is asking where the branch comes from. Because from the root's perspective, the continental African, they know where they come from. They know they're part of this tribe. They know they're from West Africa. They know they're from East Africa, South Africa. They know what nations they come from, where their family lineage goes to, because your lineage goes back thousands of years. not just a few hundreds of years. Okay, so when a continental Chinese person asks a Chinese American, "Where are you from?" They want to know, what part of China are you from? What part of Asia are you from? When a European asks a European American where they're from, most Europeans can say, well, a couple hundred years ago, my family came from Ireland. My family came from France. My family came from England. My family came from Germany. It's a question that the root is asking the branch.
Mm.
It's just that some African Americans who are not willing to learn, who wants to remain ignorant, because in the age of information, you can find out where you come from in proximity, what languages those people spoke. So all the information stolen from us from the white man is there available for anybody to get. But some people want to remain willfully ignorant, and they want to get pissed off about a question coming from the root when they are in fact the branch. Africans don't come from America. America is a country of immigrants. The only people that come from America are Native Americans. So you should not get offended when an African, even as a black British, that black British know that they came from the Windrush, they came from Jamaica, and from Jamaica they came from Africa. They know that. It's the lineage. If you care about your lineage, then you will care about Africa. If you respect your lineage, you respect Africa and respect the fact your people came from Africa. So whenever you hear an African say where you're from, if you don't know the answer, you need to go get it, or just say you don't know.
Right.
Because most African Americans don't know, because that was snatched away from us by the European, who is not an American. They're not from here, just like we're not from here. No matter how long your family been here, you're not from here, they're not from here. Only Native Americans are from America. Everybody else is from somewhere else. So don't get offended when an African asks you where you're from. Sometimes they're saying where you from. Where you from, meaning how far back do your lineage go and what do you know about that? And like I said, in this day and age, there's no excuse not to know that if you really care about your lineage. Anyway, tell me what you think in the comment section. Afro Think Tank, learn something. Tito, I'm out.
All right. And hey, man, I jive with that. I feel that, I have conversations with my family in terms of where we come from. And what I understand more than anything is that we only go as far as here, these United States, Oklahoma or Texas. I've heard it say, oh, y'all got Indian and y'all da. Yeah, but where did we come from? You know what I mean? That could have played out as a result of, blacks getting away from, whites in terms of bondage, finding freedom amongst some Indian tribes who, in most cases, done the same thing to us that, the Europeans did. But, I think it's deeper than, someone trying, or I trying to assign myself to a native tribe, to, you know what I mean? To a Native American tribe. I just, the life of me says, wait a minute, man, it got to be deeper than that. It has to be deeper than that. All right. I think that should be the objective. When we want to research our lineage, we should not stop here or go, go as far as 100, 200, 300 years ago, to trace our lineage, to our mother's grandmother's 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 grandmother. You know what I mean? Grandmother. We should, before that, and it can be found out. So that's the state of mind I'm in. That's the state of mind I am. I am in. I recognize that I am. Let me be quite clear. Me, and I'm speaking for me. I would prefer the term African American, because I understand to a great degree that, hey man, we come from there. All peoples come from there, but we come from there first. You know what I mean? We landed here, however long we been here. Okay, so what? But where did we originally come from? I will use the term Black American because, honestly, we have to, again, we got to be mindful how people label us, and they will do all sorts of different kinds of labeling or having or defining what they label us, giving us definitions. So black, you hear a lot of people say, oh man, black is this and black is that. No, man, black goes back to Africa, man, way before Africa was called Africa. You know what I mean? So I have no problem with that either. When we're talking about certain groups who are now starting to be in the limelight, they have all these different terms and words for themselves, FBAs, tethers, and they're delineating, all this stuff, man. Listen, man, the truth of the matter is, if any of them really would do their research, even if they were here before the peculiar institution landed and brought forth slaves here, we still came from there. You know what I mean? We still came from there. I don't care, man, if you okay, well, we've been here 500 years. Where'd you come from, though? Where'd you come from? So I've always been of the mind that, yeah, I am of African descent here in America. And my people, no doubt, been here for hundreds of years. No doubt about that. But that's where I am with that, man. And I think that that's something we need to really get an understanding of in terms of our lineage. See, because it works for them, for us to only go so far in determining where we come from. But it will work for us more so if we go beyond what really is prescribed, in terms of how far we research where we come from. It will work to our advantage to go all the way to that spot. And it's possible, it's possible, so that's how I think or I see that, we're here, man, not of our own volition. You know what I mean? We're here because a lot of us, and that would include a lot of FBAs, all FBAs, really, because we were brought here against our will. So we were brought here from where? Then what would that make you? B60 said, man, he on point. The root asking the branch. All right. I had a phrase. I BS you guys not. So, and I've told this story once or twice. I was doing a life sentence in prison, and up one day, here come my son, through the prison gates, craziest thing, man. You could just bad experience, me as a dad, as a father, see my son coming out of prison, the same, just being in prison, period. But worse still, coming on the yard I was on, and the officials, the administration coming to me and say, hey, we have your junior. All right. Yeah. Come on. It got to the point in a matter of days where the exchange was, you knew better than me, and I had to tell him one particular time, and I've said it many times since, but I said, man, you the peach talking to the tree. What do you think you know, man? What do you think you know? You know nothing. You know nothing, man. You come from me. I can tell you more about yourself than you could tell me about me. You know what I mean? And like I said, I had to use that, that terminology a few times with him just to get him to comprehend. Wait a minute, man, there's nothing you can tell me because you don't really know. First and foremost, you don't even know you come from me, man. You don't respect that. More to the point, you don't respect that. You don't honor that. So when they say, hey, man, the branch talking to the root, when the root asks the branch where you come from, and the branch don't know, but would pretend as if, hey, man, I on my own, this is me. I got here, that's just wrong, But again, that is the result of us being removed from ourselves, being removed from knowing what our lineage is, being removed from our identity, language, the whole nine, the whole nine, So yeah, B60, I agree with you wholeheartedly that bro is on point. The root asking the branch what it is. Do you know what it is? You know what I mean? That's some cold stuff, man. That is some cold stuff. I got another one though. And again, I just want to, break this down, share this with the brothers, man. I want to share this with the brothers. Here's another one, because I've heard this conversation recently. We were talking, and this was in a family setting. We were having a discussion outside on the front porch about 4 nights, maybe 5 nights ago. And the issue of our ancestors selling us out or selling us into, this peculiar institution called slavery, and I was saying my response to that was, we don't really know that though. We don't know what the circumstance was, but we tend to hear things and we run with it. So as a result, we have a certain dislike or disdain for our brothers across the water because, we're of the mindset or in the frame of mind that they just literally sold us out, sold us, gave us away, allowed them to take us. And again, we weren't there. We don't really know. But the truth exists. We just haven't went and gathered it, and found it for ourselves, come to know what that truth is. But anyway, this brother, he dropped another piece. Let me run this by y'all right quick. Okay, my bad.
Giving us access to land on the cheap and giving us the ability to gain citizenship and residency easier than other groups of people. So we don't need any more apologies. We've already received those apologies in our face. Some even flew to America and apologized directly. It has happened. It's been recorded. But of course, the man is not going to spread that. They don't want them to know that we have been apologized to already. So yes, they have already apologized, and they've already tried to institute some of their own, what we would perceive, reparations. I know some African Americans are not aware of this, but I get this question all the time. They say, why haven't African countries apologized to us? Well, African countries have apologized to us in our faces. Ghana was one of the first countries to apologize to us. There's videos online on YouTube right now where the tribes who participated, the families who participated, and the countries on behalf of the empires that existed back in that day, even if they participated under threat of annihilation, because most of them participated, because if they didn't participate, they would have been annihilated by the European, because the European uses the same trick that they're using right now in Iran in the Middle East to point a gun and threaten mass destruction if they do not do what they want to do as far as how they want to do business. And remember, the transatlantic slave trade was a business, okay? So anyway, if you want to know, African countries have already apologized, and a lot of them have already started their own restitutions and reparations by giving us access to land on the cheap and giving us the ability to gain citizenship and residency easier than other groups of people. So we don't need any more apologies. We've already received those apologies in our face. Some even flew to America and apologized directly. It has happened. It's been recorded. But of course, the man is not going to spread that. They don't want them to know that we have been apologized to already. So yes, they have already apologized, and they've already tried to institute some of their own, what we would perceive, reparations to make up for what it is that they have done, and they're welcoming us home. They want us to come home. So yeah, there you go. They've apologized already.
Want us to come home, man. They're asking for brothers and sisters to come home. That's just one. I mean, I'm not going to keep running these, you guys, but they're some real powerful clips right here. They're short for the most part, but I mean, seriously, man, powerful stuff. Powerful stuff, you know. I'm may you guys had, you know, got the gist of what he was saying. There's a lot going on, and for a lot of reasons this stuff is happening. Again, when we're talking about who we are, a part of the game is to confuse us, keep us confused, you know what I'm saying? Because the moment we realize, on a whole, of the majority of us realize what our lineage really is, that's a problem for them. That's a problem for them, you know. Also, for those of us who want to hold on or, you know, dispute, criticize, you know, our African, you know, brothers and sisters, our ancestors who may or may not have had a hand in this situation, us being over here, you know, from the start. For those who want to hold on to that anger, that animus, you know, that disdain for our brothers across the water, man, I think it's hard time to let that go. You know, get to the understanding, get to the facts of why what occurred. You know, why did it happen? You know, these people, you know, just do this research, man, do the history. You know, they landed with guns in one hand, Bibles in another. You know what I mean? And it was our tradition. Warring states, you know, they take prisoners, you know, and those individuals could work, you know, their way out of, you know, being prisoners of war, you know, in so many years, you know what I mean? However, them people came and it got twisted, you know. Again, though, like the brother expressed, we have to understand what they were up against at the time. So the needs of the many, I think in this respect, this applies, outweighed the needs of the few. You know, some African countries or leaders, kings did not go that route, though. You know, some say, hey, man, you just got to kill all of us. You know what I mean? And that's what that was for a lot of them. But our point, or the point I'm stressing, is this, man. We have to get back, man, to, you know, we have to get to the point where we understand where we come from and how we ended up here. You know, a lot of what occurred, man, we weren't there. We don't know. But at the same time, or by the same token, man, it's high time, man, we get over a whole lot of shit, you know, because the shit we're holding on to, it's not just directed at our brothers across the water, our ancestors across the water, you know, those times when all that shit took place. But we're holding this shit against each other, you know. Africans don't mingle with Africans, you know, but, you know, Americans don't mean, you know, this back and forth. We got brothers, Afro-Latinos and blacks. It's just all this confusion and this conflict over what? Over what, man? None of it makes any sense, man. None of it makes any sense. You know, we have to get to the point where we start realizing that, you know, we've been hoodwinked and bamboozled for sure. You know, and we have to pull the wool from our eyes, man, in order to get to where we need to be. Because again, this isn't about us per se. I mean, us, you know, at this stage and age, this is about those coming up behind us, man. We have to lace them. We have to make them aware, allow them to become aware of what the lineage is, what the history truly is. You know, we need to impart to them that it's probably, no, not probably, it is more important to identify where you came from rather than where you are. You know, people, they hold against a lot of these Latinos and Mexicans. I mean, hey man, you're in America, you got to do that. But no, they're not releasing, they're not letting go of their lineage, where they come from. You can't knock them for that. You know, and for any of us who do that, then that's only because, okay, we have nothing to identify with. We can't point to a lineage that goes beyond 200 years, 250 years, 300 years, you know, and I think that might be more animosity, than anything else. That's what I think. Don't necessarily make it true or make it right. All right, that's just an opinion. But a lot of us understand that, and we have brothers in the RGC who say in a minute, I know where I come from. I'm African, just here in America, got to salute them brothers because they're in the know. They are in the know. We got a lot of our brothers and sisters, though, who are, again, just ignorant. And they create this division amongst us. Well, again, I'm FBA. I'm this and I'm that. Hey, wait, man. We're black. A lot of us think that black, because other people use it derogatorily, it's a bad thing. And it's not. A lot of people be like, hey, man, ain't no damn African. Da, 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 I'm American. Da, da, da. Oh, man, your lineage says otherwise. And I don't care if you 250 years, 300 years removed, 400 years removed, 500 years removed, you still are of that soil. It's where we come from, man. So I appreciated that piece. And again, I subscribe to the brother. He has another one that's about 20 minutes long, and I don't want to bore anybody. You know what I mean? Again, it's just a lot, man, but he's making some great points. He has one where he's talking about how Somalians and Latinos went to the I think it was the 50th, maybe the 50th, I don't know what year anniversary it was of the Selma march across the bridge in Selma. They instilled themselves in that march, while at the same time they got issues with black folk. They don't respect us, don't love us, don't mess with us, don't fuck with us at all. But they were willing to disrespect the ancestors who did that march, who actually sacrificed their lives, man, so that they can live the lives they're living now. And yet they would disrespect us, but then attempt to go try to pay homage or be a part of some stuff that they really don't respect. If they don't respect us, they can't respect that. You know what I mean? So he got a piece on that, which made all the sense in the world. And I've always been an advocate of that. My stance is that, hey, man, if you don't respect us and what we've sacrificed, our people, not me per se, but, I come from that line. You know what I mean? If you don't respect that, you can't be, come on, man. If you can't respect me, you can't respect that. And that goes for any of us. You can't want to steal, or cosplay, try to usurp us, our culture, how we are, and yet still disrespect us. But then want to show up at a ceremony that, really gave you guys the opportunity to be here without the problems our people had to face and go through. It's just, man, that's total disrespect. That's total disrespect, So that piece I appreciate. I watched that also today. It's just a lot, man. Again, I'm the type of guy, I advocate separation until such a time, man, other demographics, other people, ethnicities, man, recognize, not just our contribution, man, but how we are, what we are made of as a people, how we have sacrificed for their well-being. You know what I mean? Until then, man, I don't want to align with nobody, especially when they don't respect us, but they'll eat off us. They'll take advantage of everything we sacrificed, bled for, died for, ran and hid for, fought for, but can't stand us and disrespect us at every turn. I ain't with that, I'm not with that. One of my loved ones, I think we fell out as a result of that type of conversation, I don't believe in strategic alliances, especially with people who do not respect us. You know, I'm not with none of that. I'm not, no how, no way. You know, no how, no way. You know, I don't know. We're not doing nothing together. You know, and especially since or when you go into their homeland and they treat blacks the same way they treat us here in America. Their blacks are hidden away, disrespected, man. Hey, man. So until you treat them a certain way, man, there's nowhere in the world I think that you treat me any better. You know, so there's no reason for me to work with you. You know, so there that is. Let me move on, man. No, let me move on. Shit. Yeah. Trying to find my place, y'all. James said, man, I was listening to a classic jam earlier, bub, and the lyrics was to the effect of, I got roaches in the kitchen, but I'm in the 6'4", steady dipping. We most definitely had our priorities fucked up. Yeah, that part, right? We were saying last night, man, about the game. You know, that substance game. How initially we got into it to feed one another, to feed our families, you know, to provide for them. Somewhere along the way, we lost sight of that. You know, we lost sight of that. You know, we forgot about, you know, taking care of the family, of the community, our brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, you know, the family. You know, it became this thing where all we were concerned with was, you know, getting the bag and flossing, you know, car flashy as hell. Spent every bit of 15, 20,000, 25,000, 50,000 on cars. But the house you lived in was a wreck. And you didn't own it. You didn't even own it, you know. Yeah, that you know, that's part of, you know, the problem, man. You know, you're cruising up the street in your 6'4", man. That thing is tight. Got everything going on for it, man. You can sell it for 50, 60,000, maybe more. But then when you go home, you got roaches up and down the walls, man, in the bed with you, in your cabinets where your food is. You know, come on, man. Come on. Yeah, we you know, this thing is crazy. James say organization became a big party of my life as I grew older. Organization is success. I've realized how much better off I am. I am a neat freak, or whatever you call it. I got a mild form of OCD, and I still have that a little bit, man. You know, my OCD is different in a lot of ways. Just, you know, being in prison, man. Most of my life being incarcerated. I have a pet peeve about someone touching my stuff, you know, and moving it. You know, I just know it's almost like, you know, a photographic memory. I know exactly how I left something. You know what I mean? And if someone touched it, it kind of like, it messes with me. Like, you know, why? What did it bother you? For what reason did you move that, or did you touch that? You know, if my son, we in the cell together, and I come back in from work, and you know, he did his best to make like he hadn't been going through my shit, but I see it. I'm like, dude, what is it that you need? You know, let me know. You know, you don't have to go through my stuff like that. You don't have to ramble through my stuff. That was a real pet peeve. It still is a real pet peeve of mine. You know, why are you going through my stuff, my letters, for what reason? You know, so I got that bad, man. Even to this day, you know, it could be anywhere outside. I could lay something, you know, and all right, you know, yeah, that's kind of OCD though. That's OCD. All right, Al, I see you up in here, man. Hold on, though. We got B1 Afro American FBA. He said, are Africans B1? That depends on who you ask. You know, I would like to say, there are some, especially today, who are saying they are black first. You know, and again, you know, it's the terminology. I think that you have to understand what the terminology actually means, what it entails. All right. If you're in support of black people, African, whatever, and that's it, that's all, that's B1, man. You know, if you're willing to go up against the establishment for the sake of Africans or black people, that's B1. If you would say to African Americans, FBAs, Black Americans, Negroes, color, whatever we decide to call ourselves. If you're over there and you say, hey, we've taken back our shit and we're telling our brothers across the water, come on home. That's black first. You know, that's black first. You know, if they're talking about bringing brothers and sisters, kings and queens back home, back together, you know, working for one cause and one people, that's black first, man. You know, just straight up, you know. Yeah, straight up. You know, that we had an opportunity to ask Ibrahim Traore, hey, man, are you black first? I think he wouldn't necessarily, I don't think he would necessarily laugh in your face, but he'd smile at you and say, hey, man, look around, you know. How many African Americans have went back to Burkina Faso, to Niger and Mali in the last year? You know, welcome back with open arms. That's black first, man. I mean, you know, again, we have to get over a whole lot of stuff that I think allows this division to exist. You know, we have to accept some stuff, man. You know, get off our high horses, our pedestals, and really, you know, accept realities. You know, one of the realities that we need to accept here, especially in North America, is that this ain't our shit, man. You know, and we'll all end up dead and gone if we attempted to take it back. You know, that's the reality. That's the reality, you know. And for those of us who here who are FBA, African American, Black American, Negro, color, whatever, that say, nah, I ain't going nowhere. We built this. This is ours. Hey, man, let's see how that turns out. Let's see how many of all those individuals who profess to be a part of all those different identities, you know, let's see how many stay down. You know, just see, you know. So I don't think that should be the argument. That should, again, this is just my opinion, bro. You know, you asked B1 Afro, you asked, and I said, you know, I'm responding. Our objective should be first and foremost, man, you know, really for real, understanding our lineage, where we come from, you know, and paying homage to that, respecting that first and foremost, you know. That's just, you know, my opinion, you know, and obviously a lot of FBAs, or I guess the majority of so-called FBAs, don't think that way. You know, again, I think that most of these labels we give ourselves don't do anything but create further division amongst us. That's it. That's my take on it, man. You know, yeah, I could be wrong, and I'll accept that, you know, if that be the case. You know, but I appreciate, you know, you coming in to get down and answering that question. The RGC, I'm pretty sure if they have a response to your question, they will answer it. You know, here, you know, opinions are allowed respectfully. You know what I mean? We can agree to disagree here, bro. You know, so we appreciate you getting down up in this get down with us. All right. Appreciate that. B60 says, Hold on. He said, Ed, B1 Afro, yes. All right. Al up in this get down, man. Al Thomas said, man, to find out your ancestry requires taking a DNA test. I'm currently waiting on my results from Ancestry DNA. Me and my wife discussed that, and I told her, I said, I don't know. And I was just being, me and my wife talk, man, we talk. I said, I don't know if I trust these people. I don't know who created Ancestry DNA. I don't know who do these results. I don't know. You know what I mean? So my issue is more of a trust issue. Who's doing this? And what are they using to come up with, to determine, whether or not I'm this, that, or the other, I don't know. But we talked about it, and it's something that she wants to do is, also. So more than likely that's going to happen. I'm going to find out. All right. It's going to happen. Okay. B60M, he's saying, man, when you look, what do you see? You go on to say B60, man, you have to say FBA, African, Haitian, or whatever your skin is. You have to say FBA, African, Haitian, or whatever your skin is. All anyone sees. Our melanin is all anyone sees. That's it. You could be Latino, Afro Latino, Haitian, Jamaican, whatever. North American, African American, Black American, African, you can be, man, on the other side of the world in Australia or anywhere, South America, you can be in Asia. They see that. That's what they see first. They don't see the person, the character, the content, the individual's character. They see blackness first. So, hey, man. Al said, man, we have an entire continent. They're African first. That's not to say that they do not identify as black. All right. By American standards, how we here describe black, they are definitely that. Also, the thing I was telling you guys about the commemoration of the March on Selma that happened back in the 1960s. It was insulting because, again, some Somalians had tried to cosplay that get down, tried to, ride on the coattails of get down, when a lot of them don't, or they don't agree with the term black. And it's because a lot of them don't identify as black. You know what they identify as? And that's not to say that all Somalians don't. There's a majority. There's also a part of Somalians, or Somalians who do identify as black. Those who don't are of so-called Arab heritage or lineage. So those are the ones we hear always talking that crap. You know what I mean? And damn, those are also the ones who are trying to ride on the coattails of what blackness is, what it's accomplished, what it's done or has done for those who are here, because of the sacrifices we made, or our ancestors, our people before us made here in North America. So yeah, I don't know, man. You do have a continent, man, which is Africa, and trust and know, man. They know. The only ones you probably get some flack from are those who won't identify as that, and more than likely, they are professing, or they would claim more than anything else, Arab lineage over, black lineage, coming from blacks or having a black heritage. Okay. Appreciate that, Al. And salutations right back to you and yours, bro. May your day have been everything you planned it to be. Peace and prosperity to you and the young king, man, your family in general. All right. It's always good to see you here, bro. Always. All right. So you send one out to me and the queen. Salutations, Bub. and to all of the kings and queens of the RGC. As always, be one, it does equal that. Black first. Be one to recognize that that is what it is, and that's really all it should be. We have to get that out there, you guys. This has to become a movement, you know. We have to get our brothers, man, especially those who we find ourselves at odds with for whatever reason. We have to get this out there to them. We have to, you know, just assist our brothers, man, with a little more understanding. You know what I mean? Ignorance does not have to exist amongst us. You know what I mean? It does, but it doesn't have to be that way. You know, we got brothers, man, especially here in California, man, who are so ignorant. It's crazy. You know, we just look at this stuff, man. Look at this stuff. You know, this stuff is just it's not normal. It's not normal. I'm trying to figure out. I'm telling you guys, I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to understand what propels this ignorance, man, that we're seeing, especially on social media. What is it that have brothers acting like damn fools? And the cold part about it is the majority of them, they know, man, from experience that, hey, man, this ain't right. Ain't none of this stuff right, man. This is some dangerous stuff. You know, this is something's wrong with, you know, us dying by the hand, you know, of us, you know what I mean, rather than anybody else, you know what I mean? And yet they continue to, you know, push this stuff, you know, advocate it, promote it, whatever, be a part of it. You know, social media is imploding upon itself. Again, man, these brothers, man, the shit is not helpful. It does nothing for anyone that would include themselves. It does nothing for the community. It does nothing for themselves, you know. But this is what we see every day. And these cats are pushing this, man, like it was a product. They sell it like it's a product. The same way we were carrying on back in the 80s and 90s with that product. This is how they're getting down. This is how they're looking at social media. It's a product to push. And they're not mindful, or they can care less about the devastation they're pushing up on the people. As long as I get my money, keep my low rider right, you know, got me a nice fat chain, my fits look good, you know, I'm buying $300 jeans, $300 Jordans, you know, my whip is cool, you know, they pushing this product, man. Same shit. And these brothers, and I say this often enough, or, you know, I think I say it often enough, they should know better. You know, don't seem to change much though. Cash Money said, man, if we don't know where we're from, we would not know where we're going. That's the old saying. Yeah. I'll say, man, would you give up your continental lineage for a country? No, I wouldn't. Let me continue though. There is no landmass, continent, or country called black, but there is definitely a continent named Africa, which happens to be the largest on the planet. And before it was Africa, it had other names, you know, Akubulan, you know, and I think that spoke to the blackness on the continent. You know what I mean? No, I wouldn't, you know, if I could have, you know, shoot, just an understanding of my lineage, man. Shit, man, I would still get this country up. Fuck it, you know what I mean? Yeah, man. I'd go get that quick, man. Let me have that. I need that. Damn this country. You know, I mean that. You know? Mean that. Cash Money say, bro, that's the American way. Yeah. not know where we're from, but hell, you know, we don't give a damn about where we're going. That's the American way. Crazy, but true. Lisa Moore, B1, black first, y'all. All right, little H, stop. Peace, prosperity, homeboy. How you been? You know, how's your day gone so far? A few hours left in the day. Tick tock, little H, top. Get it done, man. Get it done. You can do it, bro. You say, Bub, when you was in school, did the white folks still showing their Confederate flags? So I this is no lie. I think I was 7. We were 7. My uncle just came back from Vietnam. You know, this was like maybe 73, and you know, this back in the day. You know, this is back in the day because we was all in the back of the pickup truck. Wasn't no seat belts, no seats or nothing. You know, back in the, you know, going over bumps. You know, holding on to the sides and shit. He pulled over to go in a liquor store, and in comes another pickup truck with the Confederate flag on the back of it. And we was all kind of ninjas, man. You know, we was all kind of ninjas, you know. My uncle come out and they seen him, you know, and he stayed strapped, you know what I mean? He ran to his truck and they took off. Boom. I'll never forget that though. That was my first experience with racism. We were in Huntington Beach. You know, I had another experience later on in life, but you know, the first one prepared me for this one. And hey, man, ain't no talking, no nothing. You know, I was in Mississippi at a what the damn I want to call it a Winn-Dixie. I think it was a store. Oh man. Yeah. 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 You try to use that shit on me. Yeah. You know, back then they didn't say FAFO, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's what happened, you know what I mean? And you know, I was always laced, you know, embraced, you know. And the individual, I was like, please don't do that. Please don't do that. You know, you already got him, please. And you know, my anger was it was such where I didn't, hey man, so you know, and you know, yeah, yeah, yeah. One of the loved ones, we was in a joint, Mill Creek level 4. It just opened probably maybe a year open. And my loved one, I was in the cell at the time, but I had always told him, we'd always had these discussions about this type of stuff. Hey man, we not tolerating that, man, in no form or fashion. So wherever you know, that comes out or whatever, man, that's where it goes. That's where, hey, you know, I'm in the cell, you know, or, you know, hey man, truth to power, man. I heard the alarm go off, level 4, and the first thing in my mind was a loved one. I said, voodoo. I just knew it, you know. So long I can't get out the cell or nothing, you know. Hour later, you know, because you know the yard go down, it's a whole process. Hour later, you know, the homeboys come in, man. Yeah, man, that was a loved one, man. You know, handled their business. That's what happened. Oh, you know, Wyopi thought he can just say some shit, you know. So he handled it, man. All right, that was it. But that wasn't me personally, you know what I mean. But I've always not felt that way, but you know, I decided that I'm gonna be built that way. If it go down, man, you can't do that, you know, around me. You can't do that no way. I don't even mess with dudes who allow that from other races, period. I don't do that, you know. And I'm very proud of them, you know. Went to the hole, you know what I'm saying? They did what he did, been about 6 months in the hole, because they wasn't playing, you know. and anyway, yeah, that went down, and as a result, got all of them. You know what I mean? So they're like, hey, man, you know, this is what it is. We're not playing with that. So that was that experience, man. Yeah, you know, again, as a 7-year-old, my first experience was that in Huntington Beach. You know, and then as I was older, I think I was 27 when that occurred in Mississippi. And you know, hey man, I didn't give a damn. You know, like okay, well, day be the day. You know, but yeah, man, yeah, real spit. Alcoholic, that DNF stuff, that DNA stuff is fake, family. I don't know. I kind of think that. I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? But and my wife is saying, you know, let's find out. Let's see what it says. You know, so that's what makes me kind of willing to do it. You know, because she's more, and I have to admit this. My wife is more about knowing what the lineage is more than I am. I tell her often enough, I don't need to know nothing. You know, I know I'm fucking African. You know what I mean? You know, like as I am, I'm an African, man. I don't care how long we've been there. I don't care. You know, and to be quite frank, my mom's mother. So my mother's mother was a white lady. Bullshit, you not. I used to ask my mom, like, "Hey, man, is she an Indian? Had that straight hair, all long and shit, you know." Grandmama Lulu. That was my grandmother's mother. My mom like, boy, hell no, she's no damn Indian. She's white. I'm like, what? Like, yeah. Now, not my grandfather, but my great grandfather was blacker than me. You know, yeah, he was blacker than me, man. Cold piece too, you know, cold piece. Yeah, I'll tell you a story one day. You know, I go back, you know, talk to my uncles and my aunties out there, and they tell me stories, man. But yeah, you know, so I could care less, man. You know, I'm pretty sure about where my lineage come from, and I know dang well it didn't start here. You know what I mean? I know that it didn't start here. You know what I mean? It had to start over there. You know, migrated here or was shipped here, whatever the case may be, or have been. It did not start here. You know, but like you, Michaelholic, I don't know. You know that I trust that, you know, that process. You know, again, I don't really need it. I'll do it because my wife wants to do it, so we're gonna do it. But you know, shit, I'm okay. I'm okay. Michael Holick goes on to say, man, it was a person that took saliva out of his dog's mouth and sent it to the DNA place, and they and they said that he was from West Africa. Yeah, you know what they call it. Some of this shit is a grift, man. It's a con, it's a hustle. Oh my god. That just gave me an idea that yeah, hey, send this over and let's see what happens, you know. See what they come back with, you know, take some saliva from my cat, you know, and see what they say. Yeah. Al says, man, take your lineage test at a few companies. That's what wifey and I are doing. So in other words, don't do it with just one company that provide DNA testing. Right. I hear you. I hear you. Do they have one, a company that does DNA tests that is owned and operated by African Americans or Africans, you know? And I mean the test in its entirety, only handled by our people. I wonder, you know, that's something, you know, I would be all right with that. I would be all right with that, you know, if such, you know, such a company existed, you know. Hmm. All right, James said, man, love and respect to all of the brothers and sisters in this Get Out Under the Groove one, man. Appreciate that. Al Thomas say, salute James. James going to salute Al, man. I hope you and yours are well. There you go. Al says, man, I appreciate you as well, black man, and I certainly wish the best to you and yours. Okay, excuse me, everybody. I'm sorry about that. Okay, we got about 30 minutes. I'd like to know, man, right quick, if anybody's okay with me running this second clip. It's about 20 minutes. I'll run maybe 10 minutes of it, man, because I think it's very informative. And he's making a cold point I think we should hear as a group, So let me know what y'all think, man. If I get about a good 3 or 4 yays or 3 or 4 nays, then, I'll forego it. If I get the yays, I want to run it right quick. I think it's very informative and insightful. And, to a degree, educational as well. So, let me know. Al says, yes, they do. I can't think of the name of the top of the head. I think it's owned by a black woman, and that would be one of them DNA testing facilities, right? Well, knowing my wife, she's going to look into that. I'll know by the end of the night for sure, if that's the case. And if it is, because I always say to her, I don't necessarily trust, again, man, who's doing the test? That's what I need to know. You know what I mean? I need to know. And that's not to say, though, our people won't accommodate them people and tell us some BS. You know what I mean? Because we got a whole lot of them that do that, too. But I just, for whatever reason, I'd rather go that route if I'm going to do that, I'd rather go that route. Okay, where we at? Oh, yeah, that's the cold piece he put right there. Now, where's this brother? Oh, man. Where you go? Oh, here you go. Oh, no, that's it. That's it. I want to drop this, maybe 10 minutes of it right quick, y'all. I think it's very informative.
First thing, check.
Hmm. Oh, shit, my bad, y'all.
Now,
I'm always doing that. My
the
bad.
Somalis are a special group of Africans who have been separated from the greater African community in America and sent to Minnesota with a bunch of white folk. And they don't really have a relationship with African Americans or the greater African diaspora in America.
Hmm.
They are known for telling us that we're slaves and they're not black because they're more Arab adjacent. This is true. They're also very prideful in their rhetoric towards African Americans, as they most definitely view themselves as superior to us. And this is what I do know. I know that there are different types of Somalis, right? You got black Somalis who are very black. They know they're black. And you got those Arab ones. There's different clans of Somalis. And some are more Arab adjacent than others. Right? But, you know, in general, overall, Somalis have been very hostile to African Americans. They're not only hostile to African Americans, I happen to know that they're hostile to most West Africans in general, right? But they definitely are very hostile to African Americans. Now, at this point in time, for the Somalis to go down there to Selma from Minnesota and to use the Selma protest of my ancestors, my West African ancestors, my African American ancestors, who strategically shed blood for the world. You got to understand, those African Americans who went down there and shed blood for the benefit of the world, okay? I feel like you guys have disrespected them by going down there and walking on the streets paved in the blood of my ancestors after, as a community in general, fighting against us who told you that our ancestors fought so that you can have a life in this country, in America, only for you to shit on us continuously. I find it very offensive that you use the Selma anniversary in March to go down there and present yourself on those streets and to cosplay a protest. It's very disrespectful. Okay? And I saw the Latinos out there too. I saw everybody out there who, despite my African American ancestors, who bled, who had dogs sicked on them, who had water holes sprayed on them, who had to endure getting beat by this inferior savage, just so the world can see how barbaric Neanderthals are in real life, because that was the point. The violence was the point. The point of that protest was to show the entire world on TV, when TV was brand new, that these savage barbarians are in fact savage barbarians, and that the supposed dangerous, savage African can be peaceful and have decorum under immense pressure. You can't imagine what it's like knowing you can whoop their ass and letting them whoop your ass with batons, water hoses, getting called names, and you gotta just stand there and march. Those were the toughest motherfuckers Africa has ever produced. Those were the hardest. Good morning. Those were the hardest Africans Africa has ever produced.
They don't even make them like that no more, man. For real.
Girl. And for you to walk on the same street as them after disrespecting their descendants is an abomination. That's just how I feel about it. Specifically the Somalis. It's an abomination. It's disrespectful because you shit on them every time you disrespect an African American. You've been shitting on the the Africans who marched on Selma every day with your rhetoric. You say we don't know our fathers. Those were our fathers. That's what you need to understand. Those were our fathers who you just disrespected by pretending to march and pretending to have solidarity with them. Just now, after we told you, we've been telling you for years, as you've been spitting in our face, just like those white people back then, as you've been beating us with your batons of rhetoric, just like those white people over there. As you've been siding with the same white demon, the descendants of those same white piece of shit demons that was beating us back then. Those are your allies. And you put Donald Trump in the White House. You made sure, and you were proud, and your chest was out when you said you wasn't about to vote for that Kamala Harris. You was going to vote for that white man who currently right now is letting you know what he thinks of you. You see, y'all wasn't doing that shit before y'all got y'all little rights taken away. Those rights that were manifested off the backs of those black African Americans who marched and bled for your right to be over here, just for you to come over here and shit in their face. And now you want to march. Selma is not the place for you to march. Your feet shouldn't touch those roads paved in the blood of my ancestors. You people, including you Latino people, cannot continue to use the foundation of revolution that we African Americans use to bolster your revolution. That's what we African Americans are tired of. I'm not talking about FBA. I'm talking about real African Americans. I'm not talking about FBA. You guys can't continue to use what we've built to try to build something on top of it. Because what that tells me is you know that we are the foundation of these revolutions, and you don't give a fuck until it's time for you to benefit. But when it's time for war, you're not there. African Americans stand on the battlefield every goddamn day and face the enemy. An enemy with overwhelming military power. And we win, we fight, we sacrifice. And you guys always show up late to the goddamn battle after the shit's already said and done and stand there with your shiny fucking armor and act like you did some shit. And then you want to go celebrate and drink and say, yeah, we won the battle, when you ain't do shit. And then when we tired and weary and we need food and we need help and we need shelter, you motherfuckers are never there to help us. But now that you getting hit in your villages, now that you getting hit, now all of a sudden, good morning, now all of a sudden you want to fucking go out there and get on the battlefield. The battle's over. We already bled and died for it. You already benefited from it. Every Minnesotan black person benefits from the men and women, my ancestors who fought and died. And that was just one place. That was one of many. All of a sudden, you guys want to learn about African American history. Now that you guys are being affected because you put in place the monsters that we have been defeating over and over again. You put in place those guys. You fought against us. When we was continuing the generational battle to defeat people like Donald Trump, and you, with your smiles, with your Arab worship, you put him in office. And now you want to complain. It's not like he was lying. He told you what he was going to do. Never once did he say that you Somalis meant anything to him. Never once. But you got, I don't know who convinced you. Your imams? Huh? They convinced you that we have no culture? Now you want to participate in African-American culture? African-American culture is the culture of protest. It's a culture of survival with the most evil, savage barbarian the world has ever created. That's our culture. We fight. We are warriors. That's our culture. Now you want to participate in our culture? No. No, I don't think so. That protest meant nothing. What you need to do, if you are earnest about changing your ways, if you are earnest, what you're going to do is you're going to go back to Minnesota and you're going to protest in the Minnesota streets. You're going to protest in your places of worship. If you really a black Somalian, you're going to go protest them other clans that tell you Arab. You're going to protest your community who disrespect African Americans. That's what you're going to protest. Spill some blood with your own people. Spill some blood within you and fight the demons, the Arabism within you and be black. Fight that. Let me see some blood spilled on the streets of Minnesota between Somalis, the Arabs, and the blacks. Let me see the blacks win that battle. And you Latinos, same with you. Go back into your houses and fight the battle of your communities trying to whiten up the race. Fight the battles of those Latinos trying to be white while practicing black culture, especially you West Coast Spanish people.
Yeah.
All y'all doing is cosplaying black culture while disrespecting black people and wanting to be white.
There it is. That's the truth.
Y'all take that protest back to your communities and spill blood for your Afro-Indigenous population. Spill blood for the African members of your community. Go back to Central and South America and spill blood from your main community who disrespect and disenfranchise your African members who gave you the culture that you guys are so proud of. Your bachata, your merengue, your salsa, all your Latin food that got seasoning, all that shit. Go back to your goddamn Latino countries and get rid of the racism within your racial ethnic groups and then come back and we can talk about it. I'm tired of you Latinos and you Somalis thinking that you can close the door and be disrespectful and disenfranchise your own black people in your communities and disrespect and disenfranchise the black people within your countries and think you can come here and get on the backs of my African ancestors who fought for your right to even be here in the first place. You must be out of your mind. We're not doing that. And I'm a Pan-African. I'm black first. So until you Latinos fix the...
He said black first, man. He meant that shit.
racism within your communities, you can't march with us no more. Until the black people, the Afro-Latino people tell us that the racial issues have been fixed in your communities, you can't march with us no more. Until the Somalis has defeated their Arab worship, you can't march with us no more. We done with that shit. We've been fighting for centuries, and we be damned. The people that we fought, bled, and died for, who came over here, who've been disrespecting us, gonna get on the backs, gonna get on the battlefield after the blood has been spilled, and it's pretend like you want some shit. We're not having that. And like I said, I know there's some Somalis that's pro-black. Where you take that pro-blackness and you turn that shit around, you aim all your fury at your kinsmen. You protest them, the ones that look like you, they don't think they're you. You protest them. You go fight them. You go march up and down those Hasididi ass freaking Somali streets where the rich ones at. You go protest there. Let them beat you. Let them spray you with water hoses. Let them sick the dogs on you. Let me see some pain and some suffering and some tears. Let me see that shit. And then you can come march with us. You don't qualify. We got more white Jews that was riding with us than the rest of you. We had white Jews getting on them buses, coming down with us, fighting and dying and bleeding. You see, they can march with us. Some of them can march with us. We got issues with some of them, but we don't got issues with other than them. We know who was with us. We know who was fighting with us. Some of them light-skinned white folk was fighting with us, dying with us. We know that, so we can understand some of them. But you, no, buddy, no. And we know some of our West Africans was with us too. I know FBA don't know that. But African Americans know. We had Nigerians and Ghanaians fighting with us. We had them in them marches too. Y'all don't know that, do y'all? We was all fighting together. You see, the civil rights movement is the one that instigated all this shit. The Black Power movement on the planet started with us. And we was all fighting together. We was all getting together. All the heads of the leaders were getting together. The African ones, the Brazilian ones, the Caribbean ones, the African American ones. They was all getting together in small rooms, coordinating how they gonna do this shit. We know who was fighting with us. We know who come out and protest with us. And we know who wasn't there. And we know who benefited. So I'll be damned. If you think afterwards you can come out, like I said, after the blood has been spilled, after the battle has been fought, after the bodies have decayed on the streets, you think you can come out with your shiny armor and act like you're part of the fight? I don't think so. Nope. We need to see you spill blood on behalf of black folks in your own communities first. Then we can talk. You got to prove it. It's show and tell season now. We don't got time for the fakers, for the performances. We done with performances. We done with even those other white folks out there with the drums and shit, beating like they protesting, ain't shit happening. When it was time to vote, you weren't there. When it was time to stop all this shit, you weren't there. And we was voting for you. We was thinking about all of you, you Latinos, you Somalis, you Indians, you Asians. We were thinking about all of you when we vote. You see, we empathetic. We care about you. It's you who don't have empathy. It's you who don't care until shit happened to you. You see, we didn't need shit happen to us to go out there and protest for you. We see what's happening to you, and we're empathetic about it, and we want to go out and do something about it. That's the difference between us and you. We are human. And we display human characteristics. You guys are opportunists. And you only care when shit happens to you. That's not earnest. So no. Your Selma protest, null and void. We don't care. Leave Selma. Go up to Minnesota. Protest there. You Latinos, go to Central and South America. Go back to California and Mexico and protest in your communities first. And when we see the change in your communities, and like I said, when we see the Afro-Latinos, let African Americans know that the community has changed, then we can communicate. Then we can talk. Then we can kumbaya. But until then, it ain't fucking happening.
There it is. There it is. All right. And hey, man, that's Afro Think Tank. All right. Powerful shit, man. Powerful shit, you guys. And we got to start thinking like black folk, man, like real black folk, like Africans, man, like warriors. We acting like kids, man. We falling short of the mark, truly. So I was fortunate enough, man. The ancestors, tapped in, man, and directed me, got me that link, and they made sure that link came to me and made its way to me, man. And everything's for a reason. That's what I think, man. I just thought that would be, powerful enough to share with the RGC and anyone who is in watching this get down, man, to give us some, more perspective, to make it put it where we're able to focus more on the focus. It's about B1, y'all. Period, point blank. Us, because don't nobody else give one flying flick about us, and we got to recognize that. So I hope you guys appreciated that piece. All right. Afro Think Tank, man. It's solid, I think. Okay, we got a few minutes, man. Okay. So, hey, I appreciate that. You went and found that info right quick. In terms of the African ancestry DNA test, you said African Ancestry is a prominent DNA company co-founded and led by a Black woman, Dr. Gina Page, founded in 2003 with Dr. Rick Kittles. The company specializes in tracing maternal and paternal lineage. Okay. Lineages, specifically, Al says specifically for people of African descent, utilizing the largest database of indigenous African DNA samples. All right, man. Appreciate that. Cash Money say, man, get a little, want some more mentality. Get a little, want some more mentality. Ain't that something? James, man, going to say, man, hey, man, the realest spill ever dropped. And that's what we need more of, especially on social media, man. Yeah, especially on social media. You going to say, James, let them know, brother. Say it again. Tell them, King, this is my type of brother. Black power to the true down, brothers and sisters. There you go. All right, Mr. Fantastic, what's happening with you? You say, what up, Big Bub? That Afro Think Tank. That's that Afro Think Tank, bro. And again, I appreciate being put up on it today. One of the loved ones sent me the link and said, hey, man, you need to check this out, man. Hey, man, you know, and that was some real love and support that he dropped in my lap. And here it is, man. I wanted to give it to those of you who didn't know. Cause like I said, I didn't know the brother existed. I appreciate the fact that I know he exists now. All right. Yeah, man, that's what it is, Mr. Fantastic. That's a good look, man. But peace and prosperity to you, bro. Good to see you up in this. Get down with us again, man. May your day have been everything you set out for it to be, bro. All right. Peace and prosperity. Real spit. All right. Queen Nzinga said, that's right. Black first, y'all. I'm with all that 100. All right, Al. I see you, man. That black fist and that strip. That red, black, and green, y'all. All right. Lisa Moore said, that's right, brother. Power is in the people, y'all. Power is in the people. We got to know this. B1, you guys mean black first. B1, you sisters mean black first. Everything else, man, is, hey, man, it's just, you know, right now it's not worth our time, our attention. It shouldn't concern us. We need to concern us. That's it. B1. B1 to recognize that B1 is black first. Be that one, man, to be black first. That's it. You know, everything else, man, I'm telling y'all, man, it's a trap. Especially considering we don't have ours together yet. If it ain't about us, man, it can't be about nothing. Real spit, man. If it ain't about the blackness, man, it ain't about nothing. Straight up, man. I got to start them doing t-shirts too, man. I like that saying. I'm going to write that down. If it ain't about blackness, it ain't about nothing. All right, got that. And I'm going to say it like that. Nothing, not nothing, nothing. You know how we do. Yeah. Cash Buddy said, man, big bro, Steve Coakley is very knowledgeable. I think the RGC could benefit from some of his jewels. B1 always. No doubt. It is. Are you saying that's his name? Steve Coakley? You know, because I'm not familiar with that name, to keep it 100 with you. You know, so enlighten me on that. Is the guy who do Afro Think Tank, is his name Steve Coakley? You know, and if not, then, you know, put me up on. Matter of fact, let me do that right now. And I got this thing right here in front of me. Okay. Who is Steve Coakley? All right, Steve Coakley, June 17, 1952, April 11, 2012, was an American political researcher and lecturer who lectured nationally on political and economic issues. Okay, I'm going to go look him up, man, pull up some of his stuff, bro. I'm going to sure do that. Steve Coakley was an American political researcher and lecturer who lectured national political and economic issues, especially to the Black American community. You know, I noticed right here, man, and this on Wikipedia. Remember, I was telling you guys, when they talk about us as a people and our accomplishments, what we contribute to society or whatever, they never identify us as Black or African. They just say American. You know what I mean? They say American. And because some of the names, you know, that identify these people, a lot of people would probably think they were white people, because these are white names. These are European names. But again, you know, Wikipedia says Steve Coakley was an American political researcher. They don't say he was a Black American or African American. You know what I mean? They don't identify. There's no, you know what I mean? And I learned that in my dictionary years and years ago, that's what they did. And in my opinion, it's sort of like an erasure in terms of identity. You know, you know what I mean? You know, the name is there, you know, and if, you know, you got to research, oh, this is a Black guy, this is a Black woman, you know. Other than that, they're not going to tell you. But we know just automatically who these whites are, you know, because that's all they teach us in school. you know, so we know those names. But yeah, man. Hey, I appreciate that though. Real spit, bro. All right, Cash Money. Yeah, that's something I'm gonna look into tonight for sure. And yeah, I'm pretty sure, man, if it's, you know, the RGC up in this thing tomorrow, I'm liable to have something that this brother Arthur that put out that was solid and above board that we can actually use like you suggested. So I appreciate you dropping that on me, man. Appreciate it. You said, big bro, Steve Coakley is very knowledgeable. I think the RGC could benefit from some of his jewels. B1 always. B1 right back to you, and we appreciate that info. Yep. It's fantastic. Say same to you, big bro. All right, Cash Money. Yes, sir. Al says, Bub, do you still have the merchandise available? I know that you don't take donations, but I want to support the channel. Yeah, we still got the t-shirts, bro. And as a matter of fact, again, I had to go to another vendor. You know, that vendor, you know, I had, you know, come out of my pocket on a couple of instances because these people had dropped the ball. You know, they wanted to go transition to something else. And then rather than fulfilling the orders, they just left, you know, and then it was impossible to even reach them and shit. But yeah, I got that, man. And that's it's in play. It's in play. Matter of fact, the homeboy Chip, Earl Cooper, you know, Chip, he went and just did something the other day, man, on a major level. And I appreciate him for that, man. I have to give him a call, you know, because I'm notified in terms of whoever does what. Yeah. So they're there. And brother-in-law and I supposed to get together very soon the next day or so to do some new designs I got, you know, that I think are, you know, a worthwhile or, you know, should be advertised out in public. You know what I mean? There's nothing outrageous and nothing like that. You know, we're going to do this thing, man, in such a dignified way. You know, it's going to draw attention regardless. You feel me? So yeah, they there, bro. They're there. And I'm also starting start up this get down for the art of political discourse, certain t-shirts and stuff I want to do and hoodies, you know. I don't want to get into the socks and underwear and all that stuff. I'm not into all that, man. And I don't know, you know, I don't know nobody who does that. You know, I don't, you know, hey, you know, I thought about jeans and those Letterman type jackets. I thought about that. I may do that, you know, the Letterman jackets for sure. But yeah, man, that merchandise is there, man. And I appreciate you bringing that up and inquiring about that, bro. Real shit. Appreciate you for that. You're going to say, Al, just like the Olympics, they strip everything and simply call everyone American. That's what they do. And I tell you, I learned this years and years and years ago. I was really just into my dictionary, you know. I still got that dictionary, man. I got that dictionary back in I think it was 2001, 2002. I forgot what edition off the top of my head, but so every day I would be in that dictionary, you know. I mean, literally every day I was in that dictionary, man. Yeah, man. Anyway, I finally got to the back, you know, and I got to looking up biographical, you know, individuals' names and stuff. And I noticed I recognize names. I've seen, okay, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther, Malcolm X, but it didn't identify them ethnically, you know, racially, you know what I mean? It just said American, you know, politician, you know, minister, you know, and I'm like, what the hell? You know, with some Caucasians, it said such and such British spokesman for the, you know, but I knew it was a white guy. You know, I didn't need a picture. You know what I mean? And so I thought, I said, some blacks might not know these names. You know, they had certain names in there, you know, are revolutionaries and freedom fighters. Their names were in there, a whole lot of them. And I'm like, damn, man, I think that's kind of foul, you know. I think that's their way of, you know, again, keeping us ignorant or benighted of the fact that our people have done so many things. And that just don't include educators, politicians, you know what I'm saying, revolutionaries, things of that nature, but also inventors. You know what I mean? Those who invented all these things these people use today. we won't be able to identify that they're black because they got them under American inventor, you know. And I don't know if they call themselves being non-racist or racial, but I thought it was racist, you know. I just thought it was racist. You got, I don't know, shit. Yeah, but that is, man. They will strip us of our identity. They will try to erase it. That's something they do, you know. And they make like it ain't no big thing, you know. But it is. When we go to school again, we learn about all these Caucasians. I mean, for real, man. I'm telling y'all, I've been at work for a long time erasing Caucasians out my brain. You know what I mean? And trying to replace them with our people, you know, with black people who are on the same level or higher. You know what I mean? That's some shit that for real, that's work. I'm re-educating myself, you know. We have to re-educate ourselves, man. Because they playing a cold game against us. Trust that. I'll say, okay, put the link in the chat for your political channel. Okay, got you, bro. Yeah, real spit. And that's it's YouTube, everybody. Okay, there you go. I guess I could have made that all one word. I don't know. Yeah, man. Yeah, you know, just so everybody know, man, I would probably do this by myself if no one was here, because I think, you know, again, I don't just enjoy doing this. I think, you know, my core demands that I do this. I have to do something. You know, I look at, you know, my life. I look back on the life I lived, man, and first and foremost, I have to acknowledge that I'm fortunate to be here. You know, one, I'm fortunate to be here, but I'm fortunate to be here to be, you know, doing what I'm doing, you know. So I tend to think that I'm here for that reason, and that reason alone. It was meant for me, you know, to be here, you know, just doing what I'm doing, you know. And I don't think that I haven't scraped just the piece of the iceberg, tip of the iceberg off this thing, man. You know, just getting started. But I enjoy doing it, you know, and again, I do it because my soul, you know, my core, my essence demands it of me. So that's why I'm here, man. People ask again, again, 2 days ago, I was with somebody and they said, man, you don't got the what's that, the you don't got this, the PayPal, the Cash App, I said, no, homie, why? Oh man, you tripping. You gotta get, I said, why, man? Why do we gotta think like the people need this shit? The game shouldn't be sold. It should be told. Each one teach one, each one reach one. You know what I'm saying? And I swear, the love, and I love the homie. I love him. I know he loved me. But he looked at me like I was a damn fool. And so I had to tell him, I said, man, we shouldn't do that. Everything shouldn't be for sale, homie. You know? Everything shouldn't be looked at as, you know, a dollar sign. You know? So that's our problem. We look to the wrong things or at the wrong things in terms of wealth. You know, how we getting paid. I'm man, just the fact that we do what we do every night, that is it for me. I mean that. You know, that's not gonna change, you know. It's not gonna change. So he said, what about your other channel? I said, I'm pretty sure it's gonna stay the same. You know what I'm saying? What I said, well, why would I do it there and not here? You know what I mean? I said, come on, you know, so I'm just stick to what I do because I think that's what's required of me, you know, and I don't have a problem doing it. I don't look to get, not from my people. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. Straight up, man. So, not for my family. So that is, man. The t-shirts is, yeah, that's something different, and I think that's acceptable. You know what I mean? Because um there's something given back in return, it's almost like a barter, you know what I mean? Yeah, there's this discussion we have, there's these dialogues that we take up with one another, debates even. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us leave with something. We pick up these jewels and gems, But I think also, man, with the merch, it's an addition, an add-on, you know what I mean? So not only do we have these conversations, and brothers like yourselves, sisters, you kings and queens come in and drop jewels and gems, and when it's all said and done, we walked away with that, and it's here. We possess it. The t-shirts or the hoodies is I think an added bonus to that. I'm saying that to say it. The thought is that there's a lot of pride in this, especially when you brothers and sisters walk away with something that's that could be repurposed. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about t-shirts or the hoodies. I'm talking about the interaction, the educating of one another, being educated by another one of us. That's always something we can pass forward. You know what I mean? We can pass on. And just with the t-shirts, that's just something added to it. You know what I mean? So that's appreciated. The fact that I know what we're doing, man, is worth the while. It's worth the while. All right. And I've called myself about to stop, and then I ain't got all this. We got new people coming in. I seen you, Alonzo. Peace and blessings, bro. As well, Supreme El Bay, long time no see. Well, good to see you again, bro. Ain't been no long time, man. The fact that you're here is good enough. All right, good to see you. Okay, so let me read this. Okay, Supreme El Bay said, American is a noun, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Hey, that's the craziest thing. And I swear, as soon as I got through reading that, you know who I thought of? The Ashkenazis, man. I just like, damn, all of a sudden you one of them. How's that even possible? But anyway, all right. Alonzo says, man, I hope everyone in the RGC is well, and you and yours, bub. Catch y'all next week. Stay blessed, everyone. And same to you, Alonzo, man. Take care of yourself, man. Focus on that focus, all right? Stay the course. Peace and prosperity, you and yours, brother. All right? We'll see you. Supreme El Bay said, we are the only real Americans. Everyone else here is foreigners. Okay, you're going to say, Supreme El Bay, you're going to say they aren't even the real Europeans. We are the indigenous of the world, and that's the stance I take. Of the world, man. We, shit. But again, we come from that main spot first. I think, I don't think that's where we come from first. Akubu land. That's where it all started from. So yeah, and that's what I would like to identify with, my ancestral home, where my lineage come from. El Bay says, they are the identity thieves. Salute, big bro. Right back to you though, El Bay. I appreciate you always coming up in here, man, with your knowledge, what I'm saying, your education and the information you give and you lay before the people, man. We appreciate that trust. Lonzo said, man, we have to stop adding everything up through money. That's the thing, man. I tell you, I learned this a long time ago. I didn't get it at first. I swear, man, I didn't get it when it was first said to me, man. Money's not true wealth. Money is not really wealth, And when I first heard it, yeah, man, I'm just ignorant as all get out. In my mind, like, what the F you talking about, man? The hell? Money is everything, but it was explained to me where our wealth really is, what it comes from. I've never forgotten it since, especially when it made sense later down the line. Yeah, I think that my wealth is my family, my family. That goes for not just my immediate men, but my extended family. I think that's our wealth. Each other. We are our wealth. Our health is also our wealth. I trust that. I just do. You know. Dollars. I got stories to tell y'all, man. One day, I was in the game, man, and a lot. Even then, I didn't look at the game where a lot of dudes did. Where it didn't mean everything to me. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just did it. I knew how to get it. And I had it, but I didn't cherish it like that. You know what I'm saying? I used to get asked a lot of questions, man. Why you game banging, man? You could be rich. About this shit, man. That was my attitude. But when I think about money now, money, not wealth in that respect, though, to money. I think about the family, man, and how to lay something down for them so that long after we're gone, you know, they'll know how to not just cherish it, but increase it for the people, not for money's sake, not for wealth's sake in that respect, but for the wealth of family's sake, um, you know, the generations to come, you know. That's how I look at that shit. That's just how I look at that. All right, y'all. Salute right back to you, man. Yeah, we have to stop adding everything up through money. Start adding things up with love and community, right? Identity, respect, dignity, real spit. Babyface Losa's up in the house, y'all. All right, man. We see you tapping in. You say tapping in, showing love, cuz. All right, man. Right back to you. Peace and prosperity, bro. All right. Good to see you as always. And Cash Money says the system does want our creative Black people to have equal credibility. But being the first builders, we lost the fundamental ways of life. Okay? I salute that comment. And I don't know if you want to say the system does not want our creative Black people to have equal credibility. But being the first builders, we lost the fundamental ways of life. Yeah, man, we've parted with so much in terms of our heritage, man. You know what I'm saying? And in a lot of respects, our culture. That culture that go way back before we came here and created and started, additions or adding to our culture. Whole lot, man. We've along the way, man. We've lost a whole lot along the way. All right, everybody, it's my time. Just so everybody know, it's always love, respect, and thoughts of unity, man, and dignity amongst the people from where I sit, So from my mouth to your ear, man, I love me enough to know that I love my people, man, even more so. All right. For me, that's a given, I go to sleep with it and I wake up with it. My grand rising, it has to do, with the people, my thoughts, the people. And again, that could be my immediate family as well as my extended family. So I'm saying all that to say, man, a number of love and respect for the people. I love and respect me, and I'm getting better at that. You know what I mean? So I know that I'm gaining ground, making much ground, man, in terms of loving and respecting my brothers and sisters, our kings and queens, even when You know, sometimes they don't deserve it. You know, I still find a way to love them and feel for them. You know, feel their pain, man. Understand the trauma, man, the experiences, man. And just try to give, you know, a lot more understanding than they're used to getting, you know. All right. That being said, I take care of myself, man, in order to, man, be able to, you know, comprehend how to take care of others, you know, how to look out, man. All right. So that, I think that's our objective. That's, you know, what our lives should be about. It should represent that, you know, to some degree, in some respect. All right. That being said, you are, you have been, and you will be under the groove. Power is in the people, y'all. Stay focused on the focus, all right? Stay focused on the focus. Poke, I holler at you, man. Love and respect, bro. C1, we hope that you are doing well. Our thoughts are that you are doing well. May that be so, all right? So peace and prosperity, you and yours also, C1. All right, everybody. Let's meet here again tomorrow up on that Grand Rising. One love. Be one. All right.
Count the names, count the bodies, count the victory. Cullen Hughes, Hearst, and writing future history. From the Apollo to the Borough to the Sphere, where the echo of those Harlem nights still ringing clear. So when they ask what happened in those tenement flats, between the spirituals and where consciousness is at, tell them we transformed suffering to scholarship and song. Tell them we've been telling you we're brilliant all along. The Renaissance will prologue every decade since the sequel. Every black child born's continuation of the people who survived the Middle Passage, survived the Jim Crow laws, and built magnificence from nothing but their vision and their flaws. That's in the sergeant, this is once a less than actors, hats, and Mercedes. Please don't you, I can't stop us. Power sensitive, watch the applause for polls. Agitated tropes and constantly problem when the wedges want to build the season bait. Now don't get the pause. It's just erasing up the times. Plead the walk is off the main. Make it on the fans. Turn the neck and love the durn. Suffer like a kesha. You were wrong to preaching up on side is each alone. Bitch on the shit and untrue seeing vet someone that very it's on Gary Land. Be hell in heaven, you see what the banner van. You wait something for the marker rate to keep him through the trumpets on the boards to the singer land is carried open slowly. Keep us looking on my mother, break your channel, resi more than he and let the peasant be. It's every time we keep a spawn.